Hey everyone, so welcome to episode 2 of ReaperCast. At this point, I think I will be continuing with this particular series. I did wish that I actually got a bit more feedback from episode 1, but unfortunately I haven't at this point. I really do appreciate it if you guys could actually give some feedback on these particular podcasts, since it's a completely new series and I want to actually know how it's going to go going forward from here. So this will be episode 2. I do hope that you guys give me a bit of feedback for this one, whether or not you enjoy it, and that'll be great. Otherwise, we'll just start things off with the actual coronavirus and the whole situation of the quarantine. Like I said, lots of people are definitely having a bit of a difficult time, and having these social distancing rules are definitely going to be difficult for people to handle. So feel free to actually talk to other people, whether it's in the comment sections, whether it's to me. You could even private message me if you want as well. Simply just go to either my Facebook page, or you could go to my Twitter, or even the YouTube community, which I recently have been starting a few posts there, so you guys could actually just talk about that as well. But it allows us to actually keep in touch outside of just my videos alone. So you don't always just have to comment on my videos. If you want to have someone to talk to, then feel free to just private message, and we could always just discuss this privately, and that way, it's an additional way for you to cope if you are having a hard time. However, aside from that, let's actually talk about a few new interesting cards. I really wanted to actually talk about this, and that is the Jinzo cards that have actually been released. So right off the bat, we have here Menacing Android Psycho Shocker, otherwise the Menacing Jinzo, level 7 Dark Machine effect monster, 2400 attack, 1500 defense. Both effects can only be used once per turn. So if either players possessed a trap card on the field or in the graveyard, you could special summon this card from your hand, but its level becomes 6 for the rest of this turn. Definitely very easy summoning condition, so that's definitely very nice here. Second effect, during either player's main phase quick effect, you contribute this card, special summon one Jinzo from your hand or graveyard. Then you can look at all spell traps your opponent controls and destroy all traps among them. Definitely very nice. This is definitely a really amazing card to pretty much be the successor to Jinzo himself, but at the same time having an easy enough summoning condition that could definitely suffice for the deck as a potential replacement boss monster for Jinzo. The next card we have here is Psycho Bounder, a level 4 light machine effect monster, 1700 attack, 1000 defense. Each effect can only be used once per turn. So if this card is summoned, you could actually add a Jinzo or spell trap that lists Jinzo in its card text from your deck to your hand. Very nice, a perfect searcher. Second effect, if another monster you control is attacked by an opponent's monster, before damage calculation you can destroy both the attacking monster and this card. Kind of similar to Reflect Bounder, which it's obviously the successor to that, but yeah, definitely very nice. I do like this card, definitely a nice staple for the deck. The next card we have here is Psycho Giga Cybers, level 6 Dark Machine effect monster, 2200 attack, 1200 defense. You could special summon a card with this card's name, the way it's written's first effect only once per turn. You can use the second effect of this card's name only once per turn. First effect, if your opponent controls more cards that are spells or traps than you do, you could special summon this card from your hand. Again, a very nice and easy summoning condition. Second effect, when this card declares an attack on an opponent's effect monster while you control Jinzo, you contribute this card, place that opponent's monster's face up in your opponent's spell trap zone as a continuous trap. So definitely very nice. Kind of an interesting condition. You could actually just force your opponent's monsters into a zone, in which case from the very first card, the Menacing Jinzo, will pretty much just destroy the trap cards. It seems like it's going to be synergetic, but obviously we have to find out once we actually play the cards itself whether or not it's going to even be consistent. Next we have Law of the Cosmos, a normal spell. You can only activate one card with this card's name once per turn. Your opponent can set one trap directly from their hand or deck. If they do, special summon one Jinzo from your deck. If they did not, add one Jinzo or one monster that specifically lists Jinzo in its text from your deck to your hand. So either way, very amazing. Either you get to summon out a Jinzo or you get to add a Jinzo. I think it's a win-win situation regardless, because even if your opponent gets to set a trap card from their deck, you're just going to destroy it with Jinzo anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. We also have here In Touch with the Cosmos. Continuous spell card, and first and second effects can only be used once per turn. You can send to the graveyard one monster you control that is owned by your opponent, special summon one machine monster from your hand or graveyard. During your opponent's draw phase, when they conduct their normal draw while you control Jinzo, you can declare a card type, monster, spell or trap, look at the drawn cards, and if the declared type is among them, send this card to the graveyard, and if you do that, draw one card. Definitely very nice. Obviously it's kind of like focusing on the whole psychic aspect of Esperoba from the very original series, if you guys haven't seen it, but yeah, it kind of plays on the same effects, because that is pretty much what Jinzo is. It's, you know, we've seen it being played by Joey Wheeler, but having it been more focused on Esperoba and his whole psychic abilities is definitely very fun, and something we could definitely, I guess, take a bit of enjoyment from just having the deck have this particular gimmick. Aside from that, we are getting also reprints of Jinzo himself, Jinzo Returner, and Jinzo Ejector. So these cards will pretty much come in the Duelist Pack 24, so that's going to be very exciting. However, moving on, I want to also talk about a few new cards from the exact same set, and that is cards for Marik's deck, which again, focusing on the original series, very fun, very exciting. We have a reprint here of the Winged Dragon of Ra, but this will also be support for Ra itself as well. So firstly, we have Reactor Slime, level 4 water aqua effect monster, 500 attack and defense. First and second effects can only be used once per turn. During your main phase, you could special summon 2 slime tokens. Also, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except a Divine Beast monster, which is not a problem because you're going to be summoning out Ra. During either player's battle phase, quick effect, you could tribute this card, set one Metal Reflex Slime from your hand, deck or graveyard in your spell and trap zone. Also, it can be activated this turn. Definitely very nice. Metal Reflex Slime, if I recall that particular card, it was a trap card that could summon out itself as a monster that's a level 10. So if you could have 2 of those, you could potentially go for a rank 10 Xyz, which would definitely be quite nice. You could also combo that, because this is happening during the battle phase, if you have the trap card Wonder Xyz, put it up on the screen for you guys to see, but that could definitely combo very well into a rank 10 Xyz monster. Moving on, we have Guardian Slime, level 10 water aqua effect monster, 0 attack and defense. First, second and third effects can only be used once per turn. If you take battle damage or effect damage, you could special summon this card from the hand. If this card battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, you can activate this effect. During the damage calculation only, this card gains defense equal to the opponent's monster's attack, so it pretty much can't be destroyed by battle. And if this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can add one spell or trap that specifically lists the Winged Dragon of Ra from your deck to your hand. So definitely very nice here, and of course, being a level 10 monster that's very easy to summon as well, you'll pretty much be overlaying that with the Metal Reflex Slime and going for your rank 10 Xyz. And like I said, a card like Wonder Xyz is an amazing trap card to actually add into this particular deck. Moving on, we have Ancient Chant, normal spell card. So you could add one Winged Dragon of Ra from your deck or graveyard to your hand. If you do, you could tribute one monster during your main phase of this turn, in addition to your normal summon or set. So obviously, really nice there. I mean, firstly, you just get to add you pretty much get to add your main card, your main boss monster, and then you immediately get an additional summon. I mean, I can't complain about this. And if that was the only effect, I would be happy already. But we have additional effects as well. You can banish this card from your graveyard. For the rest of this turn, any Winged Dragon of Ra cards you tribute summon has its original attack and defense, each become equal to the total original attack and defense of the monsters tributed for that summon. So definitely very nice indeed. The next card we have here is Millennium Revelation, continuous spell card. First, second effects can only be used once per turn. You can send one Divine Beast monster from your hand to the graveyard and add one monster reborn from your deck or graveyard to your hand. That is definitely very amazing. I mean, yes, you'll have to discard an Egyptian God card, but either way, the fact that you could just add monster reborn from your deck to your hand is not bad at all. I mean, I could see this being quite generic as well. You could just play 3 copies of, well, maybe 2 copies of Millennium Revelation, maybe 2 copies of different god cards, and use it as a, I don't know, some kind of deck cycler to add a monster reborn to your hand. I don't know if that's going to be worth it for you guys, but the fact that it can add monster reborn from both your deck or graveyard is going to be very significant. Second effect, you could send this face-up card from your spell trap zone to the graveyard. For the rest of the turn, you could special summon one Winged Dragon of Ra from your graveyard with your monster reborn effect, ignoring summoning conditions. But during the turn's end phase, you must send to the graveyard all Winged Dragon of Ra's that you have special summoned by this effect of monster reborn. Definitely a homage to the original series and how they actually utilize the effect of monster reborn. Obviously in our current formats, we're not allowed to do that, but with this card allows us to kind of bypass that particular effect, all while actually still maintaining its, I guess, relevance to the particular format and having a good matchup. Next we have a trap here, one with the Sun God, continuous trap card. First and second effects can only be used once per turn. While you control a monster whose original name is the Winged Dragon of Ra, you can activate this card during the turn it was set. During either player's main phase, you can pay life points so that you have 100 left. Choose one special summon Winged Dragon of Ra you control, and if you do, it gains attack and defense equal to the amount of life points paid. Second effect, once per turn, you contribute one Winged Dragon of Ra you control, gain life points equal to the attack it had on the field. Again, similar to the original Winged Dragon of Ra's anime effect, we get it in the form of a trap card. At the same time, it's really not a detriment for us to actually have this particular card in our deck as well, which is definitely very nice and giving us the ability to mimic the deck of Marik and his whole Winged Dragon of Ra gimmick here. We also get a few more other reprints here of Holding Arms, Holding Legs, and Metal Reflex line. There we go. So definitely very nice, and all coming in the same set that's actually introducing the new Jinzo card as well. So all of this is very amazing. Definitely excited for both versions of these decks. Definitely going to be very fun. Moving on, I want to quickly talk about just one card that's coming out in Return of the Duelist, and that is Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Demonic Dragon. So with the new Chaos comes the power of Synchro and Excavation. Essentially, it is level 8 Dark Synchro effect monster, 3000 attack, 2500 defense. It's generic, so it requires pretty much anything you need. And the first and second effects can only be used once per turn, so if this card is Synchro Summon, you could excavate the top 5 cards of your deck. If you do, you can add one excavated light or dark monster from your hand to your hand, also send the rest to the graveyard. You can banish one light and one dark monster from your hand or graveyard except this card, special summon this card from your graveyard, banish it when it leaves the field. Definitely a very nice card here, definitely an awesome boss monster that I could see myself using in Rocket or Dragon Links. So maybe if you guys wanted to actually try that out, that would be very nice. After all, it does have chaos in its name. Very quickly, I want to talk about the new Charmer deck as well, definitely very interesting. We're just getting one new card, and that's the field spell. So it's called Grand Spiritual Art Ichirin, a field spell card. Second effect can only be used once per turn. Negate your opponent's first monster effect, that resolves each turn while you control a spellcaster monster with 1500 defense, which is essentially all the Charmer monsters. Second effect, during your main phase you can reveal one spellcaster in your hand. If you do, add one monster of the same attribute, 1500 attack and 200 defense from your deck to your hand. And if you do that, shuffle the revealed card into the deck. Definitely a very nice card indeed, acting both as a searcher but also as a way to, I guess, negate your opponent. So definitely very nice. If you guys haven't seen yet, my friend Anders has made a video talking very extensively about this particular deck, and he is someone that is much more passionate than I am towards this deck. Of course, I'll still be buying the structure deck, it's definitely very fun, but he's been playing the deck for as long as I could remember really. So if you guys head over to his channels, Rafiel's Reviews, and check out his extended video talking about this, that would be something that you guys would probably enjoy. So yeah, head over there and just check out his video on Charmers, and you'll get a bit more detail and more insight as to what's to expect in this. Now moving on, we want to talk about here the Dragma, which is essentially a new archetype that's being released or introduced into Return of the Duelist. Definitely very fun here. They are so-called noble heroes, and yeah, let's just get started with their cards. There's a lot of new cards. First one's called Ecclesia, the Dragma Saint, level 4 light spellcaster effect monster, 1500 attack and defense. First effect, if a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you could add one Dragma card from your deck to your hand, except itself. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. Okay, so that's very important, because what this means is this deck might not focus at all on the extra deck, and your boss monster is pretty much going to be on the main deck. That is going to be a very interesting thing, considering that there are definitely cards that can affect the extra deck quite a bit. So a deck that does the exact opposite of that is going to be quite interesting indeed. Third effect, cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. So again, very nice, kind of reminding me of Necros and how Necros of Unicorn can just negate the effects, or is kind of like an anti-extra deck kind of deck. Moving on, we have Theo, the Dragma Iron Hammer, level 4 light spellcaster effect monster, 1800 attack, 1500 defense. First and third effects can only be used once per turn. First effect, if a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, you could special summon this card from your hand. Second effect, cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. Seems like a very common effect here. And third effect, you could target one face-up monster that was special summoned from the extra deck until the end of this turn. This card gains 600 attack, and if it does, that target loses 600 attack. Alright, so not as great as the first one, but then again, the first one did set a really high standard, so, you know, I guess you can't really do anything about it. Though this particular one seems to be more of that typical beat stick at 1800 attack, and he definitely still affect the attack and defense of your opponent's monsters. The third card is called Aiden, the Dragma Oracle, level 4 light spellcaster effect monster, 1000 attack, 1800 defense. First and third effects can only be used once per turn. First effect, if a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is... Okay, so it's the same thing, the first and second effects apply the same way. However, it's the third effect that is, if this card is on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Dragma monster from your deck. Not too bad, it's a floater, so can't really complain about that. Though at this point we still don't really understand the win condition. But speaking of which, we are moving on to a boss monster. We have Fleur-de-Lis, the Dragma Knight, light level 8 spellcaster effect monster, 2500 attack and defense, and first and second effects can only be used once per turn. During your main phase, if a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then, if you control another Dragma monster, you can negate the effects of one face-up monster on the field until the end of this turn. That's very powerful considering you could do this during your opponent's turn. Second effect, when your Dragma monster declares an attack, you can make all Dragma monsters you control gain 500 attack. And I believe that is permanent as well, so that is pretty crazy. It's not until the end of the turn. You pretty much can keep escalating this every single turn, so definitely very nice. Not so typical of a boss monster. I believe that might be the next card. So we have here Maximus Dragma, level 8 light spellcaster effect monster, 1500 attack, 3000 defense, first and second effects can only be used once per turn. You can banish one fusion, synchro XEs or link monster from your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. During your main phase, you can activate this effect. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. Also, send 2 monsters with different names from your extra deck to the graveyard. Also, your opponent sends 2 from the extra deck to their graveyard. Very nice. Yeah, I was kind of confused because I thought this deck was going to focus on not using our extra deck, but instead it's using the extra deck as a gimmick to detriment your opponent's extra deck. So that's definitely very, I don't know, how should I say, it's kind of clever, this particular mechanic. And that is something that I'm very excited for, considering how the playstyle is going to change the whole dynamic of the interactions between every single deck here. Alright, so at long last we've reached the boss monster. We have Tetradragmaton, the Heart of Dogma, level 11 light spellcaster effect monster, 3200 attack and defense, cannot be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned by its own effect. You can target 4 fusion, synchro, XEs or link monsters in your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, banish those targets. It's a shame that there's no pendulum monsters. I really want pendulum monsters to be forgotten. Second effect, at the start of the damage step, if this card battles a special summon monster, destroy as many opponent's attack position monsters as possible, and if you do, inflict 800 damage to your opponent for each fusion, synchro, link or XEs monster destroyed by this effect. Not too amazing. Yeah, I mean, there's no invulnerabilities to it. It is a very vulnerable card. The burn is pretty lackluster as well, to be honest. I mean, at best it's an easy enough summon and you have a really big beat stick, but that's really the extent of it. So I'm wondering, maybe there's some kind of synergy with the spell traps. So over here we have our first field spell, Dogmatic Nation Dragma. Second and third effects can only be used once per turn. First effect, neither player can target Dragma monsters you control with effects of monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck. Second effect, if your Dragma monster battles an opponent's monster after damage calculation, you can destroy that opponent's monster. Third effect, if this face-up card on the field is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can make both players send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. Alright, so definitely very nice. Bit of protection, bit of battle gimmicks, and at the same time also its own gimmick as well. Moving on, a normal spell card, Disciple of the Nadir. You can only activate this card once per turn. Send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, then add 1 Dragma monster or 1 Albus, the Nilius Filius, wow, from your deck to the graveyard to your hand with attack less than or equal to the set monsters. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, which obviously you're not. Moving on, we have a trap card, Dragma Punishment. You can only activate this card once per turn. Target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard with an equal or higher attack, and if you do, destroy the targeted monster. Until the end of your next turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. Not an amazing card. It allows your extra deck cards to go to the graveyard, but it does target an opponent's monster, and I think with a card like that, it's not particularly amazing. Had this been a non-target, it would be a lot more powerful. Lastly, we have Dragma Encounter for the trap cards. You can only activate this card once per turn, so you could choose to activate one of these effects. Special summon one Dragma monster or Albus the Nilius Filius from your hand, or you could take one Dragma monster or one Albus from your graveyard and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Very interesting. It's a shame that it's not a continuous trap card, it's just a normal trap card, but either way I can't really complain. I mean, it's either a special summon from your hand or your graveyard, or you could just add from graveyard to your hand, so you just get to choose one of these effects, nothing too special yet. That being said, we now move on to Albus the Nilius Filius. So this card was mentioned quite a bit earlier. Level 4 Dark Dragon effect monster, 1800 attack, 0 defense. You can only use the effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can discard one card, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using this card on the field and monsters your opponent controls as fusion material. Alright, so that's very interesting. I did not expect that. I really thought that this deck would not summon from the extra deck, but seeing that we're actually getting a potential boss monster from the extra deck completely changes everything here. Speaking of which, we are moving on to the final card, Bastard the Shen Dragon. Level 8 Dark Dragon Fusion effect monster, 2500 attack, 2000 defense, requires Albus and also one monster with 2500 or more attack. Pretty hefty conditions, but if you get to use your opponent's monster, I guess it's not a big deal. Third effect can only be used once per turn. First effect gains attack equal to the total original levels of the monsters used as material for this card's fusion summon times 100. Second effect, after this card is fusion summoned, for the rest of this turn it is unaffected by activated effects from any other monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. Third effect, during the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you could take one Dragma monster or Albus from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. This one is a lot better as a boss monster. The whole unaffected is pretty much what I'm expecting. The power boost, it's very typical, but at the same time, I think it is still very nice on the way it will be summoned out, utilizing Albus's effect. Alright, so very quickly I want to move on to a bit of the rarities that we're getting for Return of the Duelists. So as you can see on the screen, we get to see the whole Starlight rarity here. Definitely looks very nice. Definitely loving the artwork of Gaia, but we're also having another artwork of the Chaos Dragon, and we also have another artwork here, a Starlight rare for Lucifer. Probably shouldn't be saying that too much because I am literally recording this at 3 AM in the morning, so it's quite scary. But yeah, moving on, we're also getting some interesting other news here. So obviously we're featuring mostly Gaia the Dragon Champion, which is pretty much a card used by Yugi, and we have Catapult Turtle as well. If you guys actually want to talk about or view these cards and their effects, I did talk about it in a very separate video, so if you just go check out my channel and see what's there, I'm pretty sure you'll come across that particular video where I talk about it. Aside from that, a few other interesting things is that we have here, the set will have 100 new cards. We have 50 commons, we have 26 rare super rares, we have 14 ultra rares, and we have 10 secret rares. So as you can see, one thing that's missing is the complete rarity. You know, there's no more rare cards. It's just commons and then it's super rares. I do like that because the problem with rare cards was that they were harder to pull than super rares, so seeing that they're now gone is definitely much better, and it makes things a bit more easier to pull in these particular sets. And lastly, we also get a bit of information here on the Legendary Duelist Season 1. This is basically a reprint set for the Legendary Duelists, so this will include the very first Legendary Duelist cards and also the second one from Ancient Millennium. And yeah, this is pretty much just a very exciting reprint set that we could get a lot of the old cards that we kind of missed out on. So cards like Ancient Gear Fusion, I'm very looking forward to. Hopefully it's not going to be too hard to pull, but yeah, it's just gonna have to wait and see what happens. But I think it's expected to come out in August, but we'll have to see what happens. Aside from that, one box contains a grand total of 1 double-sided art card, a secret rare, 6 ultra rares, and 30 commons. The complete Legendary Duelist Season 1 set has 121 cards, 7 secret rares, 16 colourful ultra rares available in blue, green or purple, 4 standard ultra rares, and 94 commons. That is a lot of commons, but I assume they're going to be easy to pull, so I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem. It's mainly just the ultra rares and secret rares. As you can see in this, there are no super rares, so very interesting that they're deciding to actually do this, but then again, it is a reprint set, so they didn't want to make it too similar to the original Legendary Duelist sets. And very lastly, I also want to talk about a few more upcoming products for spring and summer that's pretty much being delayed. So we're talking here about Duelist Pack Duelists of Gloom. We have Duelist Card Protector. Let's see, all the significant things here. So we have the Collection Pack 2020. That's been delayed from June 6th to June the 20th. We have Masters of the Spiritual Arts, so that's pretty much the Charmer deck. That is June the 20th, but it's been delayed until July the 4th. So most of these cards here, as you can see on the screen, they're pretty much being delayed by roughly 2 weeks, which, I mean, we all understand why that's the case. The situation is definitely very difficult. But that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed this second episode. That pretty much wraps everything up. Like I said, please leave some feedback. You know, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and you know, please subscribe to the channel. And I'll pretty much be continuing this as a series, and you guys will always be in tune for what's ready to come later on. But in the meantime, I do hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.